Hey everybody, welcome to Shit I Love with Jason Stuart and my guest and my good pal, Jennie McNulty, comedian and now actress.
Okay, well, yes, thank you. Hello, everyone out there in Podcastville.
We have worked together. I probably have worked with you close to more than any other comedian that's lesbian.
Really?
Yeah, I think you, and it used to be Julie Goldman.
Yeah.
But now it's you, I think, I've worked with more.
Well, you're a lucky fella.
Oh, because I think
we're just old, that's all.
and we were still around. So you have a similar story that I have. I mean, you say that you met me before I even realized that I met you. Tell people how we met.
We met. I remember you. I honestly moreover you. Well, I think Kansas City it was, and you came
Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes, at Stanford and Sons.
Stanford and Sons
and
Comedy Club.
You came out in this cow patterned vest to Diana Ross's "I'm Coming Out" when you took the stage. I'm like, all right, this guy's very interesting. I like him.
Were you in the audience?
No, I was middling.
You were in the middle.
Obviously, I made a huge impression on you.
No, so long ago, but you were also in the closet.
Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't out to me either. As soon as I came out in my brain, I came out in life. I was like 37 when I finally figured it out because I was just completely in denial. And
you also have a lesbian sister, right?
I do. Yeah, lucky me.
Which is so interesting.
I know, my mom did stuff right.
God, and is it just the two of you?
Just the two of us, and we're both gay.
Oh my God, yes.
But it's not genetic, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, it's not in the water or anything. So bizarre. And you actually were you married, or you had this marriage?
No, I was with someone for a long time.
You live with, can we say the comedian?
Yeah, Elliot Branch. You've worked with him as
well?
well.
He was terrific.
Yeah.
No, I remember working with you, but it was, it's so long, and people always say that, why don't you remember things? And I think it's, just to say it out loud and say it on the podcast, it's fear. I was always so scared of everybody and everything, and I never looked that way. Oh yeah, I walked around with, blinders on like a horse, just because I was so afraid of getting fired, getting beat up, being treated badly. For growing up being gay, I think I was traumatized and didn't realize that even though the behavior wasn't happening, I still was living the behavior in my mind. It was a pattern in the way I was. I remember the late Scott Kennedy, who I was working with in Austin, Texas. He was the middle act there, and he had, I saw him on stage, he goes, "Hi y'all," or something, and I thought, oh God, I can't watch another Southern act. And I was just terribly, stereotypical in my mind in those days. And I went into that dressing room that was in the middle between the kitchen and the stage, and I sat in there, and after, his show, he came up and he said, "How come you're not talking to me?" I said, "We're family." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "See the freedom rings?" And I never looked. He was in the closet, but he would wear these multicolor rainbow rings as a choker on his
I did that when I did
neck.
Military gigs, because they told us not to be controversial. This was like in 05 and 07, when it was Iraq and Afghanistan, a bunch of Bosnia. It was an amazing experiences. And they told us, don't be controversial. Don't do political humor. They just want to see someone from home. They don't want to have to think about stuff like that. They just want to relax and see someone from home. So I did that. I didn't change pronouns because I just couldn't bring myself to do that. Once I finally came out of the closet, I sure as heck wasn't going back in. So what I did was I just didn't do any relationship material at all. And I wore rainbow everything. So I had a couple of soldiers come up and go, "Hey, nice bracelet." And I'm like, "Thank you, sister." And then, like, sometimes somebody said something to me from the stage. It happened a few times, or they, like, "Whoa," and I'm like, "Hey, you got a sister?" So I kind of came out in that way, but I never did specific material about being gay.
Isn't that weird? But they would never say that to a straight person. That being gay was controversial.
Well, I took it upon me to assume that's. They just said don't be political, and so I figured,
Were you scared, or you just wanted?
I didn't want to lose the gig. To be totally honest, I didn't want to lose a gig because I love doing them, and I thought, you know what, in a way, and maybe it was a huge rationalization, probably 90% rationalization.
But it was also 12, 13 years ago. And it was a different timbre in the country.
And they really did just want to see someone from home. It was cute because I would do stuff about playing football, and these guys would come up and give me pointers on, because at the time I was playing defense, on how to stay with your wide receiver. You got to keep low, make sure your feet are, they were awesome shows, and I didn't want to give those up. So I thought, that would be an easy way for them to say no to me as well. The political gay stuff, So I thought, well, I just won't do that. So
I think of you as a survivor and as a lifer and as somebody who has really stuck to her guns.
Thank you.
And you're always writing, and you're always creating, and you're always working, and you're always finding a way. I think some people are different than others. in that way. It's very difficult for some because this is not an easy business to stay with.
No, the job itself is the coffee break of the day, standing on stage and telling jokes. And that's what people always say to us, right? It's like, oh my God, I could never stand on stage and tell jokes in front of people. That's literally the coffee break of the day for me. It's trying to get the work. It's, dealing with all the other BS behind the scenes you have to deal with. Being on stage and doing what we do is just glorious and fun and not work at all. It's all the other crap around it, to me, that feels like work. And it's,
well, come on.
also,
sometimes it is work on stage. There's some audiences that are just like, oh, dear God, if I have to tell another dumb dick joke or if I have to tell another stereotypical joke to get them on my side because they have no idea what I'm talking about. They don't have the reference.
Yeah.
Because I always think, and you teach writing of comedy also, I always think that because I'm funny, anything I say is funny. My job is to figure out how to set it up.
Correct. Yeah.
So people understand
That's what I tell
I'm
people all the
talking
time.
about.
When I'm teaching with them, I'm like, okay, what about, and I have to warn them ahead of time. I'm like, I am not saying it's not funny. I'm just saying, where do you find the humor in it? Like, what is funny about that to you? And then they'll tell me what their punchline, what they're trying to get, the point they're trying to get across. Because it's all, like you said, it's all in the wording. It's all in getting the
It's the arrangement of the words.
The arrangement of the words, the arrangement of the thoughts into their brain and how their brain accepts it and hears it. And,
But do you find for being, when you were living with a male comedian, you were living a straight life, you were talking about experiences of who you were and what you were having at that time. And that's what you talk about.
Right.
And then when you start to talk about being a lesbian, all of a sudden now you're somebody they've never seen before.
Yeah.
And they don't understand. There isn't, I mean, I think the lesbian stereotype is, hey, how you doing, ma'am? Is the tough gal.
No sense of humor. Yeah, right.
Yeah, which is funny because there are so many lesbian comedians. And I think I would say in the women, it's at least 25 to 30%, I would say, of the women comedians are lesbian. At least, I mean, because there's so many, even ones that are closeted, and there still are a lot.
Yeah. And
I find it interesting that for me, when I would travel, that's what being Jewish, being gay, and also from coming from Los Angeles. You're from?
I'm from Detroit.
Detroit, yeah. So it's a different sensibility.
Right. Well, here's the thing: is too. Once I came out in life, I was already out here in California for a while. I started coming out on stage right away. It was because, like you said, you're talking about your life experience, so all these things made sense to me now, and I had all just this plethora of material. So right away, I sort of started gravitating to more of the gay stuff, and I started doing like the Olivia trips and other gay shows and prides and things like that. So
Olivia, for those at home, is one of the biggest lesbian cruises. Yeah.
Yes. I sort of backed away from the quote unquote straight world, so I quit doing the the straight clubs, or as Daniel Leary calls them, comedy clubs.
Well, was it hard to move up from being a feature actor to being a headliner in those days? When did you start? What year?
Oh God.
I started in 83.
83.
And I didn't start going on the road until 85.
I'm thinking about doing a show. It'll be from the very first time I stepped on stage in my very first open mic was October 25th of 30 years ago, of 88. So I'm thinking about doing like a anniversary show or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But
it's 30 years.
I know. 30 years of doing stand-up. But 30 of my year of pounding my head against the wall. But like you said, at this point, you can't go back now. And
I'm 35.
There you go, yeah.
In May, it'll be 35 years.
But I think you'd have to keep going, and I think that's part of our job and why people like me keep going is because there's that carrot dangling in front of you. If you're working in a job where there's a ceiling you're going to hit, there's a certain job level, you're not going to get to be CEO of whatever company, in some cases. So for us, there is always that carrot that, you're, working hard to make ends close right now, but all it takes is that one break, that one commercial, that one thing, that one movie role, that one whatever, that then makes you this hot commodity. It's that vicious circle that, catch-22 here. You've got to have heat, which is what they mean, like when the industry's talking about. You've got to have heat to get anything, but in order to get the heat, you kind of have to have something. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to have this show or this following or this whatever. And now with social media, that's a whole new ball.
Well, that's when I stopped touring, is when all that happened around 10 years ago. And I decided, and I remember we sat right here in my office and we started working and getting jobs together because I wanted to do like one-off things.
That's what I found to be more right.
Yeah, rather than doing club work. It was just physically exhausting, and I did it for 20, 25 years.
And then once I came out of the closet too, then that was really frustrating for me because, you get these people that say they're super gay friendly, but we're still the butt of their jokes, or you still have, so you have to sit through all these, women are like this and men are like this, and that always bugged me my entire career because I never fit into that bubble of what I don't like shopping, I love sports, da 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 da. So it got to be a drain to be there 5 nights when you can make the same amount of money in one night. It's like, okay.
But there is something to working in a club 5 to
Absolutely.
7 to 8 shows a week, and
That's
sometimes
true.
9
That's
when
true.
they did 3 on Saturday.
Yeah.
To me, there was something about doing that as a comedian to that extent.
Yeah.
Where the comedy just became a part of who you were.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you could tell the difference in comedians.
Yeah.
And you can see it. I was doing a workout room last night, and I saw this one comedian who came from the road, and you could tell she was a road comedian.
Yeah.
Because she had the cadence, she had the confidence, she had the thing. And now that I don't do the road as much, I'm a little more airy-fairy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little more conversational. And
well, that's what flies in the clubs out here, too.
Yes.
You can't do
I'm
a lot.
much more that way.
Sometimes they'll have a hard time if they're just in there. And for me, I like to... My dream show is when half of it's me talking to them and improvising it. I love to play with the crowd. I love to just,
So
have a good time with them. So
just doing a great, fun show.
Just entertaining them. That's what we're paid to do. So that, back to the military gigs, that's what I felt that is our job. We're there to entertain them. They don't want to think about gay or straight or black or white or Republican or Democrat. They just want to laugh. They want to see someone from home who's in jeans and normal clothes, and just kind of reminds them of...
Did you ever do one with Scott Kennedy?
I never did them with him.
He would never hire me because I was gay.
Oh.
And I don't think I could have done it at that time. Maybe now I could lie a little bit. I just don't think. I think it's easier for women to hide than it is for guys.
I was working with a different company too than Scott's.
Yeah, he was just the king of that. God bless him. And you worked with him on Pride Comedy Jam. You were the announcer for that show.
I did. Yeah, that was kind of fun. That was fun.
I was supposed to do that show. And at the last minute, they decided on him.
Ah.
Yeah, so in a way, I'm sort of happy about that.
Yeah.
Because it was quite a big deal for him.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been the same for me as it was for him.
Yeah.
And I was very, very thrilled that they chose him because he's, he was terrific.
He was terrific. Yeah, look him up when you
Scott.
not now. Finish listening to us all the way through. And then
or listen to this, and you can do it while you're doing it because I have things up on the computer. You can
what? Your full attention is not on me.
No, you can do more stuff than this. So now you're touring. You've been touring a lot with Vicky Shaw, who is another one who has never come to LA or New York, to my knowledge, and has made quite a career of herself.
Well, she does the Olivia trips too. Yeah.
She's really, and doing those cruises gives you a worldwide net.
Well, it gives you a worldwide net of lesbians,
fans.
so that when you come into town to do a Pride show or to do a one-off, like you said, in a theater, then you've got that built-in group of people that already like you, and they tell their friends, and the meetup groups, and whatever tricks you use to,
Did you ever work with Kay Clinton?
I do. I work with her a lot.
Yeah, I have too. Not a lot, but I did a couple times, and that was sort of extraordinary to watch. And for those who don't know, she is what I would call the mother of lesbian comedy. She sort of is an icon in that area because of her soft touch and her political tone.
It's more political than, for me anyway, that's what...
But there's a very soft touch to her voice and the way the way she's always done things,
Yeah, but she's... Well, I met all those people in Provincetown, Massachusetts, which, if you don't know out there, is at the very, very, very tip of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It's a very gay town. It's per capita, the people that live there is very gay. It used to be a gay mecca, and it was almost all gay people there. But now, for various reasons, it's pretty much opened up now, and it's. Well,
I think the reason is Provincetown is no longer all gay is because it got so expensive that younger people couldn't afford to go there. Well, they don't have the money, and also they don't have the need or the want to be in an all gay environment.
To me, there were 4 factors that
the over 40 and the under 40. Yeah. That's where we start. That's where the divide is.
Well, you have. You have.
She's getting crazy on the chair.
I think it was a combination of the prices got very high there, and the economy tanked. And when the economy tanked, fewer people started coming in general. So what they started doing too is marketing it as a resort town. So in like 2008, 2009, there was a huge influx of foreign people because our dollar was so crappy. They were making, they could come over here. And Provincetown, if you've never been there, is exquisite. There's a whole half of it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's got art galleries, more art galleries than you can imagine. It's got all kind of comedy venues, wonderful food,
an incredible amount of drag shows and music shows and occasional play.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, fun town. Anyone that goes there likes it. So you have all this influx of people that have never seen it before, and they're telling all their friends, and they're coming back. So it's getting straighter and straighter, and then they kind of marketed it that way. And then part of it was the economy, and like you said, part of it was for the same amount of money that you could spend coming to the same town that you've come to for the last so many years, because it was the only place you could go and hold your girlfriend's hand. Now you can take a cruise, or you can go anywhere now and
hold your girlfriend's hand.
I wouldn't go to the middle of Alabama and hold your girlfriend's hand, but well, in some places you can.
It was certainly in L.A. Trump was here recently for a dinner, and what's interesting is he said all these negative things about Jerry Brown, who I just love, and this to me, we don't realize sometimes how lucky we are to be.
God, yeah.
And in the last year, I've realized that how much I love California.
Me too. That's funny. And it feels like home.
And even if I didn't live in Los Angeles and I lived in another city close by, this is the free to be you and me place where you can, in Alabama, they'd say, oh, there's that guy with that underwear outside his pants. He's an embarrassment to us all. And we would go, oh, there's Jim. That's the guy who wears his underwear. Hey, Jim. And that's the difference.
Yeah, right.
And we'd see Jim walking around with the underwear outside his pants, and we just love him.
He'd have a card made up. Hi, I'm Jim, the guy with the underwear on the outside.
Or do you ever see that woman that drives on her bike, and she's this transgender woman, and she wears these little tight outfits, and she's very obese. And you just see her, and she go, oh, there's that girl.
We just lost Hollywood Jesus.
Oh, I know, and Hollywood Jesus.
There was a guy that looked so much. I have so many pictures with him. I could make a calendar. I have pictures of him at Pride. I have pictures of him at the
Was he a gay guy?
I have no clue, but he looked and dressed like Jesus. It was crazy. He was look up WeHo Jesus. He was a pretty cool guy. I don't even know his story, but he was at every event dressed like Jesus. It's crazy.
Just his thing. And he wasn't that old.
I don't think so. No, he had some kind of illness. They didn't say.
Oh, God bless him. Yeah.
All right, so this is a cheerful podcast. Look at the people that have died.
Yes, it is. That's what happens when you get older. Is people start to leave. People start to leave the planet or leave the form that they're in. You know? So you have been dipping your toes into other areas in the last couple of years. Like a lot of people, we're all hyphenates now. You also teach and tell people how they can get a hold of you. You don't just teach stand-up, you actually teach writing.
Well, here's the deal, is the only way to become a stand-up comedian is to do it. You have to get out there and you have to take the stage and you just have to stand up and talk and do it. But you need to have something to say when you take the stage. So for beginners, that's where I come in. I teach a 5-week class. The first couple of weeks are, giving pointers on how to write.
Do you do it in person or do you do it
on Skype?
On Skype.
So they can take it from anywhere, and I can be anywhere because I've always wanted to do it, but you're limited because you can't teach this class and then be gone 2 weeks of the 5. So this way I could teach it from anywhere. So it's just teaching them how to get the writing of the material down. And then I certainly give them performance pointers, and we kind of do a little class on the Skype thing. And you can say, okay, you want to say this way or deliver it that way. And you can give them pointers on that. But mainly it's like we were just saying, it's all the words and getting the words in the right order.
For me, it's always the arrangement of the words. Exactly. And it's the idea, and do we say this on the air? But it's about setting up the joke.
Yeah, setting it up and developing well. So then I teach stand-up that way. And then I had a woman who was a pastor who took my class because she wanted to make her sermons better. And then I actually started working with her on an individual basis. I swear to God, I think it's my Father up in heaven figuring, if you're not going to go to church, I'm bringing church to you. So she writes to me. She sends me the passages on which her sermon is going to be based. She writes out her sermon, and then I just look at it.
You punch it up?
And I punch it up her sermon and make it.
Oh, I love it.
But it's been really fun because it's interesting and it's.
So you're a sermon. So all the priests and the rabbis.
No, not all. They have to
should
be
hit you up,
open and affirming,
right? So they could just hit you up to sort of punch up
exactly. But in all
sermons.
seriousness, people listen with humor. You can get
Always.
so many points across with humor, and if you're an engaging speaker, people are going to take your message. And that's what she said. She goes, people are coming up to me now saying how much more they like my sermons, and that they're actually. And she goes, and they can tell me what I said and repeat things back to me. So she goes, I know they're listening. So that's been really fun. I've worked with a business executive that wanted her things funnier. So it's all about just learning how to, the tricks that are essential in stand-up, like you said, about the arrangement of the words, and then just figuring out for whatever your genre is, I can help you write it funnier. I can't make you funny. I can make you funnier.
Right. That's wonderful. And you've also been dipping your toe into acting. Now, you started trying to act years ago, and you played a nurse on Chicago Hope.
It was fun.
Which is a David E. Kelly show. I'm assuming that's how you got your union card?
No, actually, I was after, and when they merged.
Same thing for me.
Yeah, oh, really? Yeah.
Did you join as a non-working person, or did you
No, I was working. I was
you
doing
could join
some
after
things.
off the street.
Correct. Yeah,
But
I was doing some things. I was doing, little like that, little commercials, PSAs, things along those. It's just hard when, at least it was for me, making a living as a stand-up. You have to be gone so much, so it's hard to be there for the audition. Okay, so you have the audition, then you have the callback, then you have this, and then you may not get it. So there's a whole week that
well, now it's changed because everything is online.
Yeah. That's true too. I've done a few of those. Those are weird. Just
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do half my auditions online right here in my dining room. I have the most incredible career in my dining room. You wouldn't believe the parts I've been able to play.
No, I love acting. It's so much different doing someone else's words. When you do stand-up, you know exactly what you're trying to say, the mode you're in, the mood you're in, everything about how to deliver that line because you wrote it. With someone else's words, there's so many different ways.
Comedy is harder to do as an actor for me, other people's comedy, than it is to do drama. Because especially if you do a sitcom that comedians have written. Yeah. Because they all want you to do it what's in their head. And they want you to do it fast.
Right.
And if you can't do that, then they'll get somebody else, basically. Now, you've done a lot of commercials, too.
I do for whatever one was.
You played a lot of moms.
I do, and that's my new thing now. I went from young mom to now I'm just like college-age mom, and I'm a 30-year-old mom. In fact, we were doing some ADR, we were doing some dubbing, like afterwards, certain scenes, you have to go back in and do some of your lines audio. And I was there, and Megan Cavanaugh, who's also in the film with us, who was in A League of Our Own, she's hilarious. She was on there. She's like, oh my God, because she was doing and you're watching.
She was in a commercial with you?
No, she was in the movie with us.
We're talking about the movie you just did?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't say anything yet, so we forgot to talk about it. Yeah, so the big deal is you're in a new film now. It's called Freelancers Anonymous, and you play...
I play the mother of the bride in this one. So
wonderful. And what's the movie about?
It's about a woman who quits her job. She just gets fed up and quits. She's in the middle of getting married. They just decide to get married, and she goes to work and just in the middle of the job just quits one day. And in the meantime, she's still going to this place where these freelancers were hanging out to try to just kind of hang out, basically. She doesn't want to tell her fiancé that she's quit yet. And I'm the mother of the fiancé.
And how big is your part?
Pretty big, actually. I have quite a few scenes in it.
How many?
It's super fun. I don't know.
Like 10?
At least, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Super fun. I had a blast.
And how is there any gay factor to the film?
Both leads are it's two women getting married, but it's really not a part of it. It's cool because Alexandra Billings is in it, and
Alexandra Billings, who's in Transparent, plays Jeffrey Tambor's best friend. Right,
but she is just the boss at work. So it's kind of like, obviously these two women are getting married, so there's a gay, undertone there. But it's
so basically, your gay card got you in the film, but you're playing a straight mom.
Yeah,
which I love, which happens to me occasionally too.
Yeah, but it was.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
you're too old to be gay. Basically, because the gay parts usually go to the younger people.
Yeah, well,
there's a cutoff. Yeah. I really believe that there is a cutoff for gay roles of around 40. And then we all wind up, having to be. So you have to be able to play all different kinds of roles. And the film debuted at a big film festival.
It's going to be they're still finishing it right now. It was awarded by Frameline, which is a film festival in San Francisco. It was
one of the biggest LGBT festivals in the country.
And it was awarded a finishing grant. So they got some funds for Frameline, so I'm assuming we'll be in Frameline. It should be in Outfest. It's a fun film. It's really good.
So excited.
Anyway, they developed this app. But what's cool about this film is there's a 3-pronged attack to it. What she does is these freelancers all get together and they all realize they all have separate skills. So they decide to make an app for freelancers. So that way, if you're an employer and you're looking for someone that could do this or that, you search on this app and you find these people. If you're looking for work, you can see who's hiring what it is that you do. So in the film, they developed this app. Well, they really did develop this app. So there is a Freelancers Anonymous app that's coming out. So it's also women.
What a crazy cool idea!
It's wonderful, and the way the film ends sort of sets it up perfectly for a web series. So what they're hoping to do is take this film and then take the web series to either Amazon or wherever, and then also have the app. So there's like a 3-pronged attack in the promotion of the film, and hopefully it'll be really successful. It's very funny. It's the other lead in it is huge in Canada. Her name is Natasha Neglavanas. She plays a Carmilla, which is a lesbian vampire series that was huge in Canada, and they just made a movie about that. So she's my daughter in it.
And
like I said,
Megan
Megan
Kavanaugh from Legal
Legal
and so many other things.
She's been in a ton. So anyway,
Did she play the other mom?
No, she's one of the freelancers. She's hilarious. She's just hilarious in this movie. So she's doing her dubbing. She's like, oh my god, well, they say the camera adds 10 pounds. And I got in there and I'm like, holy crap, the camera adds 10 wrinkles too. What the hell?
Who's that?
High definition is not flattering.
No, you have to be lit. They have to know how to really light you. Wow. And so I think this will probably get you a lot more work.
I hope so, yeah.
I think it's going to open up a whole door for you.
Yeah,
About playing moms.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember...
Because it's totally no one... I don't recognize me in this. You know what I mean? In who I am, because first of all, I'm dressing in a different way, and
what's a different character?
Absolutely. So you. For me, it was kind of weird to see.
What kind of character are you?
It's just sort of like I own a winery in Sonoma, so a little snobby, but not real snobby.
Oh.
I'm drinking half the time.
So a little Dina Merrill-esque. Do you remember Dina Merrill?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, she was blonde, and she always played the rich woman, white Christian woman.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And she was married to, oh God, she passed away recently, but she was in every movie ever.
Oh yeah, okay.
I
do recognize.
Did you have a hairdo?
Well, they did it up. They kind of for the wedding scenes. It's sort of up and it's loose. Still comes down, but it's kind of up around my face, and then.
So you have.
Oh, that's so nice, hair and makeup. You just sit there and they make you all look good, and then when your hair's out of place, they come in and fix it for you. All right, I can dig this.
I love it. And the filmmaker is Sonia Sebastian.
Yes.
And had you known her before?
No, I had not worked with her.
So you just went in and auditioned?
Actually, I got it through my sister because she's friends with my sister, and she had seen I did this granny football character, and she's like, "Wow, your sister's really funny. There's a part I think she might be in for." So I did have to audition for it, but I did have connections. That helped.
So let me ask you a question, and this is something now that I'm dealing with. Do you say your age?
It depends where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like if I'm performing in front of a bunch of young kids that, anything over 40, much less 50 sounds just outrageous. I don't bring it up because it's just too distracting for them to wrap their brains around because I don't feel that I look my age.
Because we don't look the age of what you have.
What we think it is.
Right. You don't have a print dress, some sensible shoes, and a bun.
Yeah, no. None of those things.
And literally, when we were growing up, that's the way you would look.
Yeah.
Right true. Now. Right, you would be, when you think about certain people, you think about shows that we watched when we were very, very young, and the, Aunt B or something who was in her 50s on the show, or maybe even her late 40s. I don't know. Her hair had gone gray. That's
probably true, yeah.
And
even in the Golden Girls, Estelle Getty was the youngest one out of all of them.
and she was in her 40s, late 40s when she started the show around 50. Yeah, and she was playing somebody older, and they were all in their 50s. When this started, and I think some of the older ones were in their 60s,
right?
And they were all,
There's Estelle playing B. Arthur's mother.
It's crazy.
It's a weird thing. So sometimes I do. It depends.
But that's a very unusual thing in television for them to let somebody do that.
Yeah.
I find that I'm starting to actually talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see what it feels like to be this age and to be this person.
Yeah.
I can't say it out loud sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's to be over the 50, to hit that milestone.
Right.
Is and I find that in the comedy world, there is some prejudice against it.
I think there's prejudice in any world. Come on, there's ageism anywhere you go. That's not just the comedy. It's in acting.
Don't find it in acting as much because there's more.
You're a man,
right?
With all due respect, you're a man. For a woman, it's there.
Definitely,
there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's probably giving you a career. You're going to start.
It will now.
Think,
yeah, isn't that weird?
But I think it will, and I think that I think for you, it's gonna change. I really do. I feel that very positively. I think that for those of us who have not had a place when we were younger, the idea of competing against people for a television series, for me, after doing Birth of a Nation and getting a bigger agent and all this stuff happening, now I'm competing in a different way.
Right.
And I'm competing with people who in their 20s had series, where I wasn't allowed to work. Yeah. And I don't know about you, I remember working in South Bend, Indiana, and this guy Bart, who owned the club.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you'd send a poster, you rolled it up in a tube,
Oh,
and
right,
you'd
yeah,
send it to them, and you'd say, please put these up in the gay bar, and put these up in the bookstores and the coffee
Right,
houses
yeah.
and stuff. And then I get there, and in the corner in their office, there'd be that. And I'd say, Bart, why didn't you send that? And he goes, well, I couldn't go into a gay bar because, what if they picked up on me?
Oh my God.
And the guy was built like a house. He was like he was like a refrigerator. And I want to say, you're 300 pounds. It's not going to happen. This is before the Bears started,
Where they were out as bears.
Yeah. I mean, do you find in the comedy world, do you find that the younger gay and lesbian comedians are starting to get the gigs? Or do you find that those gigs are disappearing? Because there used to be a lot more gay events.
Yeah, well, again, it's us being who we are. I think a lot of it too is because there are more gay events that it's sort of watered things down a bit. So what used to be just a few prime things that you could get hired for, I think there's so many of them now that, and there's so many comedians. I think that the pay drops down and what have you. But what I found about aging in this movie was interesting to me because, I just retired from playing football last year. I still played football, and part of the reason I played was because, and it was full contact, helmet pads, the whole deal.
Was it a lesbian team, or was it just?
Well, a lot of them were, but it was just a women's team.
And you've done this for years.
16 years, I
A big part of your act, too.
And I love it, and I didn't want to give it up. A, because I love the sport, but B, because it kept me, with the kids and knowing what's going on and learning what all those things were. But you were
one of the older people.
I was the oldest. God, yeah, I was older than some of their mothers. It was,
gosh.
But I've always still felt myself, especially if you're sitting around with them, you're looking at all these young faces. I feel young, so I feel like I'm part of the young ones. And it wasn't until I started doing this movie and I was watching, as people do on a set, congregate and talk to people. It took me till I was over 50 to realize I'm over 40. You know what I mean? Because it was on the set.
That's what I say right now. It took me 10 years to admit that I was 50.
Yeah, right. But it's taking me 10 years to admit that I was 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still felt like I was in with those, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then, on one hand, that was a bit of an eye-opening thing. But on the other hand, to me, it felt very uplifting because I thought, okay, well, I'm looking around. I don't want to, like you said, compete with these young 30-year-olds or 20-year-olds for roles. Now I'm in a whole different area of people, so now I'm kind of a new face again, if you will. So I think for me, that part of it I'm embracing completely. If you want to hire me, I'll be I'll be the grandmother of whatever.
I'm so thrilled that you got such a good big role too, so people can show your range and then it shows that you're not just a one-off.
Right.
And then this will be open a whole can of worms for you.
I hope so, yeah. Because
the idea of hiring a lesbian to be in a gay movie playing a mom who's straight is just delicious to me.
Well, yeah, but it was very female. I mean, it's an all-female cast. There's one guy in it.
Where's the father of the bride?
Well, they're in it, but they like speaking roles in terms of everything. There's two fathers of the brides, and they're there, but their parts aren't really speaking roles per se.
They don't get to talk at all?
Well, one guy does.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I would love to play your husband in a movie.
That would be fun. That would be hilarious, actually.
Well, it would be easy to do.
It would, yeah.
Because
we've known each other so long. I know, right?
There's a certain intimacy that you have that you need to recreate in a movie that you wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
So the football thing is over then.
I'm their announcer now, which I am having a blast. Because halfway through the season last year, I couldn't do it anymore. So it got to be too painful for me. Actually, my back was hurting, my knees were hurting, and I was out of shape because I'd missed a whole ton. I was on the road a lot. So I never really got myself into fighting shape, if you will. So that's when I'm like, all right, how about if I call the games? You guys don't really need me out there. So it's.
Do you find that there was a thing about talk shows for lesbian comedians? Mm-hmm. Did you try to get on the talk shows? Was there a time you were really trying to do all that? As a comedian, as a stand-up in your career?
Sure, you send out. I've always been like a few steps behind, you know what I mean? It was like when I started, it was when Evening at the Improvs and Carolina Comedy Hour and all those shows were on TV. They were just everywhere on TV. And then by the time I had the material to get out there, then comedy kind of took a downswing. So then they weren't doing it anymore. So I had, a show. And then I got a show I did in Minneapolis helped me, a TV show I did up there. And then the logo things that I did, that helped me.
You did logos.
One Night Stand.
One Night Stand up.
I did two of those.
Same as me. Yeah.
And then I started doing the my walk in terms of
you were one of the few people that did too. I don't know anybody that did
so,
too.
Yeah, myself, I think Bridget McManus did, because they did one featuring the After Ellen vloggers. So I did, the first one I did was just comedians, and the second one was comedians who were also After Ellen vloggers.
Wonderful.
So yeah, so in terms of talk shows, I kind of, my own thing is what, my own talk show is what I would really, that's kind of my goal right now, is to get my Walking Funny show. I do this, it's a walking talk show. I interview people instead of sitting like this, where we're just sitting being interviewed, which is comfortable for us because we're good pals, but sometimes it's awkward when you're interviewing someone. So instead, I take a walk with them, and I'm doing them now on Facebook Live. I used to visually record them before on After Ellen and just put them on tape, but now I'm doing them on Facebook Live, which is fun because people can interact with us while we're walking, and my goal is to get people walking along with us, either on a treadmill at home or just kind of listen. Hopefully they're not staring at their hand while they're walking and walking into things.
Yeah, you got someone else that's running the camera, I'm guessing.
I am. It's so much fun, Jason, because I'm doing it with a selfie stick and keeping both of us in
So
frame.
let me ask a couple questions.
Yes.
So how do you interact with the people if you can't actually see it without your glasses? And who wants to wear their glasses, reading glasses on the fucking show?
Because I don't need reading glasses anymore. I have monovision. So I'm nearsighted, so I can't
so
see.
am I.
I can't see.
I know you are because I've seen you. Yes.
Okay.
I've seen you wear glasses once or twice.
All right. So when you get your contacts fixed, so that in this case my left eye sees perfectly. They're both 350. I need it corrected to 350. So my left eye is corrected to 350 with a contact. My right eye is only corrected to 200. So with this, I can barely see. Like, I can't even tell mentor because I knew what it said. I can't read that with this eye, but I can read. Because this eye does the reading, and this eye does the distance, so I don't need reading glasses anymore. I'm
going to put mine on because we have a commercial to do for the sponsor here. I want to put a shout out. Your home away from home in Silver Lake is Casa Crawford. It's a strolling distance from both Echo Park and Silver Lake. Casa Crawford is the perfect bread and breakfast, a home away from home. You get your own large room with beautiful artwork on the wall and a gorgeous view of the Hollywood Hills. So just call and make a reservation at 323-663-1664. That's 323-663-1664. And if you want to email, you just send me an email. Go to my website, jasonstuart.com, Stuart, and I will set you up with my good friend Scott Crawford, who is our sponsor for the show. Thank you so much, Scott. Love him. Where can people see your show?
On Facebook Live. Just go to my Facebook
page.
So
is it housed anywhere else if they're not watching on Facebook Live?
Not yet.
So you can go back to Facebook Live and just look through your pages.
I have a group page or a Walking Funny page that you can see. They're all kind of lined up there.
And apparently I'm going to be doing it.
You are, yes.
So yeah, I can't wait.
Because I used to do, when I did on After Ellen, it was only women that I interviewed. So now I can interview boys. It's fantastic.
Right. Yeah, I used to do, when I did my first talk show was on After Ellen.
After Ellen,
and I did either gay men or gay icons, and I did Alexander Paul and Judy Tenuta. That's an interesting thing between the men and the women. It's so strange, isn't it, between gay men and women? Women, strictly women, 100%. You're never going to see Kenny Rogers or Barry Manilow on the Olivia cruise. It's just never going to happen. Yeah. Has there ever been a man performer on the cruise?
I don't think so.
Yeah, but us, honey, everyone from Cheetah Rivera to Debbie Reynolds to Kathy Griffin, Margaret Cho, it's 50-50, honestly. Shan Carr for years did, wonderful comedian, did the Atlantis tours for years and years and years. I want to do a little homage here because both of us would not be here if it weren't for Bob Smith, who recently passed away.
Yes.
Just such a sweet, kind man. And I wanted to tell a little story.
Clean, fun writing.
Oh, very, completely the opposite of me. I mean, I used to love working with him because it was the opposite. Me emotional all over the place. I remember once my father, before he passed away, owned a lot of apartment buildings. And he was going to rent an apartment in one of the buildings when he moved out here from New York. And he said yes, and then he changed his mind. And he called me, and I'd never seen Bob ever. He was so polite. I was more upset for him than him because he felt so sad. But he sounded so polite and so, and later he told me he was very upset that he had to call because he didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And I thought, oh my God, I'm the one that's feeling so bad about him. I'm much more emotional about the whole thing than he was. And I remember another time we were doing an HRC gig, Human Rights Campaign in Washington, D.C. It was one of the first comedy tours that they ever had. And the plane was late and we had to rush from one thing to the other. And he was upset. And I'd never seen him, be upset because he was always so calm, cool, and collected. And then you read his books and you know so much about him. It's almost embarrassing to talk to him because I feel like I know way too much. When I read someone's book, and when I see them in person. And I just want to, say that if it wasn't for him and the funny gay males, a lot of us wouldn't be here, especially me. I did one of my first gigs at the Toyota Comedy Festival with him and Jaffe Cohen and Suzanne Westenhofer.
Yeah, but I worked with, you've also worked as a straight man for a while too.
Oh, 10
right?
years.
Yeah, okay.
10 years. So the first thing in New York was the Toyota Comedy Festival, and the other one was Danny McWilliams. Or Danny McWilliams? Yeah, it was the other one who I shared a house with in Provincetown, and who smoked pot there so much that he got ashes on this awning, and I had to pay for it.
Not that you hold a grudge.
Not at all. But I just, it's just so sad. ALS is, I think, is what he had, right? Or Lou Gehrig's. And his joke about Lou Gehrig's was, he says, "How can I get Lou Gehrig's disease? I don't even like baseball."
Yeah.
So God bless him.
Stephen Hawking just passed away.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what happens when you're
50 years after they predicted it. That's crazy that he lived so
73, I think.
Yeah.
Or 76.
They said when he was 21, he had a couple years to go.
It shows that you can, if you really want to be on this planet, there is a way in and there is a way out.
Yeah.
So we're looking for this movie.
Yes, Freelancers Anonymous. Go see it. If it's in a film festival, or hopefully it'll get distribution and go out places. Get the app if you're looking for a job.
I love it. And what gigs do you have coming up? Is there anything you want to tell us about?
Oh, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh May 18th. I'm looking forward to Pittsburgh. That should be fun. My parents are from Pittsburgh, so I'll have...
Where are you going to be working?
A place called Cruise. It's a bar there.
Oh, wonderful.
I have some other stuff coming up. I'm doing also the oldest lesbian film festival in North America, which is the London, Ontario in Canada. I'm doing their film festival, doing comedy there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's an unusual gig.
So I'm doing comedy there in the first week of May, and I'm doing a really fun, if you live here in Los Angeles or in this area, I'm doing a benefit on April 22nd, which is a Sunday, and it's called Project 10, and it's for kids. It's based on Virginia Uribe, who used to work with the...
Virginia Uribe.
Uribe, yeah. Do
you
know her?
Yes, I do, because she was actually the tennis coach in my high school, Fairfax High, when I was there.
Well, she started the Project 10 there because it's
which was the
10%.
After I left.
Yeah. Well, you were one of the little queers that spurred her on then.
Yes.
Because she formed this group, Project 10, coming from the theory that 10% of the population is gay. So this is helping. They do scholarships for gay kids. It's really, really great. We've raised, like last year, we raised thousands and thousands of dollars. It was really awesome. It's a big. One of her former students, Chef Ivory, comes in from Houston. He's a big barbecue guy, and so he caters the whole thing. There's myself, Patty Rain, Paul Jasek are performing, and then there's auctions, and people have donated some really amazing gifts.
I have to go.
Yeah, you should. Up to April 22nd, it's a Sunday.
Wonderful.
It's super fun, and it's for a great cause, and it's always fun.
And you have a website, of course, which is Jennie McNulty.
JennieMcNulty.com, and it's spelled IE, but Y will get you there. I paid for that.
Oh, yes.
You should do that with Stuart, or did you? Stewart.
No, I don't, because there's other Jason Stewarts.
Yeah.
I'm Jason Stewart, Stuart.
Yeah.
If you forget how to spell her name, just go to my website, and I will direct you to her.
They've forgotten how to spell your name.
They don't. So many years. I'm the first Jason Stewart that comes up.
You're the first and only. The only real Jason Stewart.
It's only because I'm old. That's the only reason. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Love you.
Love you too.
Till next week. Take care, everybody.